When I was 23, I fell in love with Luna Reed. When her career hit rock bottom, I secretly spent $100 million to help her make a comeback. Friends said she had hooked up with a rich second-generation heir and would never have to worry again. She said, "What rich heir? He's just a foolish guy with some money." She colluded with her white moonlight to kill my whole family for my family's fortune. Reborn into another life, these two scumbags can just rot in prison. "Ethan, I want this painting. Buy it for me." Phew. Staring at the scene before me, it was both familiar and strange. It took 2 minutes to process before I realized I had been reborn. Sitting next to me was my girlfriend Luna. She always wore an aloof expression, her face cold and edged with a faint disdain. Seeing her, my pupils suddenly contracted and I couldn't help trembling all over. In my previous life, she stayed with me in name only for the sake of my family's wealth. But I thought it was just her pride acting up. After all, she had married me, the young master of the Johnson family, so I devoted myself to treating her well, afraid of hurting her pride. As it turned out, she secretly colluded with her first love and schemed to kill my parents. When I was at my most vulnerable, she offered to manage the company on my behalf, then used her power to drive me out of the group and, together with her first love, took control of the corporation. I became their discarded pawn. She paid $2 million to hire kidnappers who took me deep into the mountains. I watched with my own eyes as she and her white moon loved up in front of me, unbearably sweet. Only then did I understand that in Luna's eyes there was never me, only that white moon of hers. "Ethan, these 3 years with you have been the most shameful 3 years of my life." With each word Luna spoke, the white moon beside her slapped my face. My tears mixed with blood, running from my cheeks down onto my body, and in that moment my heart was completely shattered. "You two depraved lovers, if I ever get a chance to start over, I will definitely kill you both." They sneered dismissively, looking at me as if I were a dog. When they were done playing, they handed me over to the kidnappers and into my life. Maybe my grudges were too deep after I died. Never expected heaven would actually give me a chance to be reborn. "Ethan, are you deaf? I want that painting. Hurry up and buy it for me." Seeing that I didn't react for a long time, Luna's face showed impatience. "Fine, I'll buy it for you." My face was calm, but my heart had long been filled with hatred. Looking at the painting on the auction stand, I remember that in my previous life, I ended up spending $60 million to buy it, shocking everyone. Except for me at the time, everyone else knew the painting was not worth that price at all. Later someone told me that the painting was actually the work of Luna's ex-boyfriend from her university days. She had me buy it just to swindle my money. I didn't believe it then and went to confront Luna, but she replied coldly, "You'd rather believe a stranger than believe me? Then let's break up." Every time we fought, Luna would threaten me with a breakup. I'm clearly the eldest young master of the Johnson family, but I live like a bootlicker. Even when I'm angry, I end up going to placate her. How laughable. In this life, if I don't crush you two lovebirds to death, my surname isn't Johnson. I raised the paddle. Mr. Johnson bids $10 million. Soon someone raised the price, and it instantly jumped to $20 million. By then, the people in the venue were already getting restless. This painting titled White Moonlight is indeed beautiful and suits contemporary tastes, but the price already far exceeds its intrinsic value. One must remember that even masters like Da Vinci or Michelangelo only have a few famous works that can fetch such sums. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a flash of cunning in Luna's gaze. It was the smile of a scheme that had succeeded. But in this life, I am no longer the naive fool from my past life who would devote herself to loving just one person. Having faced life and death, there's no way I would let them manipulate things behind my back. I simply raised the price to $50 million US. In an instant, all eyes turned to me, as if looking at a fool. Everyone shook their heads secretly, thinking the Johnson family had really raised a spendthrift. I suppressed the nausea in my chest and smiled, asking, "Luna, are you happy? Isn't this what you're supposed to do as my boyfriend?" Ridiculously, even after I spent so much money, it didn't earn me a single smile from her. Her eyes were full of disdain for me, the eldest son of the Johnson family. Maybe she didn't realize that I had already started calling her by her full name. Whether you love someone can actually be seen from what you call them. Actually, Luna is a very meticulous person. Otherwise, she couldn't have eaten away at my family's assets step by step. It's just that now all her thoughts are on the money she'll soon get, so she hasn't noticed these details. Okay. When I turned my head, I saw her quietly nod toward a certain corner, and immediately someone in that direction raised their bid again, $60 million. If that price goes through, it would definitely set the record for the highest sale price of a modern painting. This gentleman bids $60 million US dollars. Is there a higher bid? $60 million once. $60 million twice. As the host on stage counted down, Luna panicked. Ethan, what are you doing? This painting is about to be knocked down to someone else. Hurry and raise the bid. I sat beside her, motionless, until the host brought down the hammer. In the end, the painting that had been hyped to $60 million was bought by a stranger sitting in the corner. I stared fixedly at that man, while Luna's face turned as ugly as can be, like she had swallowed a lump of dung. $60 million. That's not a small amount. If it were me, I'd be hurting over it for a while. I ignored Luna's hysterics for the entire rest of the auction. Ethan, are you out of your mind? I asked you to buy that painting for me, didn't you hear? Luna was full of rage, greed, reproach, and obsession were written all over her face. That painting isn't worth $60 million. I replied lightly, looking at her ugly face with nothing but disgust. Was I blind in one eye back then, or both? How could I have liked a woman like this? You think I don't know that painting isn't worth $60 million? But I like it. Ethan, you promised. If I like something, you'd give me anything. Luna roared. I warn you, Ethan. You must get that painting, no matter how much it costs. Otherwise, I'll ignore you. Really? I showed surprise in my eyes. Honestly, I was actually worried Luna would cling to me, because that would make my revenge on this pair of lovers much harder. Luna obviously didn't expect this reaction from me, and stood frozen for a moment. In her logic, as soon as she said that sentence, it was like issuing an imperial edict, and I was the little eunuch receiving it, obliged to step forward and kneel immediately. Luna glared at me viciously, thinking I hadn't heard clearly. Ethan, are you deaf? I said I never want to deal with you again. If I don't have that painting in my hands today, then don't expect to see me ever again. Done deal. This truly is a double blessing. I was overjoyed, almost jumping for joy. They spent $60 million on a painting nobody wanted, and I was finally rid of Luna. What a delightful day. You, Ethan, you scumbag. I'm telling you, after we break up, don't even think about begging me to get back together. After saying that, Luna stormed off in a rage. Scumbag? Is that what she's calling me? She clearly has someone in her heart and only uses me. And yet she has the nerve to call me a scumbag. Back home, I saw my parents. My eyes instantly filled with tears, and I pulled them into my arms. Ethan, what's wrong? Father was stunned for a moment, then asked seriously, has Luna been bossing you around again? I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes. Dad, Mom, I just missed you so much. In my previous life, because of me, I let the wolf into the house. My parents were killed by Luna, and from then on we were separated by life and death. To my parents, we'd only been apart a few days, but to me it felt like another lifetime. No matter what, in this life, I absolutely cannot repeat my past mistakes. My mother gently stroked my back. Good, don't cry anymore. You're so grown up, still acting spoiled. Are you out of money? She said as she pulled a bank card from her pocket, warning, Ethan, you like that girl from the Reed family. We won't stop you, but you also have to think about yourself. You can't keep dressing in rags all the time. I looked down at my clothes, all cheap stuff bought online. Before, Luna said she didn't like men who dressed too well, that it attracted trouble. She liked simple, good men. So I started being thrifty. The eldest young master who never set foot in the kitchen learned to study recipes. I, who used to wear clothing worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, switched to cheap items from shopping apps. But her, She transformed from a penniless girl into someone wearing a bespoke gown, mixing with the successful people of high society. How ironic. In my last life, I didn't even notice any of this. Dad, Mom, Luna, and I have broken up. My parents were taken aback for a moment. What did you say? But they quickly calmed down. It's normal for boyfriends and girlfriends to argue. Perhaps in their eyes, I'm still the one who couldn't live without Luna. I shook my head. This time it's really over. I don't like her anymore. I spent quite a bit of effort persuading them before my parents believed I was serious. Now, it was their turn to cry with joy. Mother's tears welled up at once. Ethan, you've finally come to your senses. That woman from the Reed family is no good. You've been with her so long. Has she ever spent a single cent on you? She's only ever drained you. Stop talking and get the servants to prepare a feast to celebrate. Father shot Mother a glance, though his eyes were full of satisfaction. That night the house was extremely lively. From my parents' words, I only then learned how outrageous Luna had been over the years. She often used my name to get my father to support her, and because of me my father felt obliged to help. What's ridiculous is that Luna despised people from comfortable families like us most of all. In her words, we were a bunch of nouveau riche, and she used to say that one day she would be stronger than our family. But I, naive as I was, actually thought she had risked everything for me and had worked so hard to build her business for my sake. Dad, since Luna and I have already broken up, the accounts that need settling should be settled. I took a bite of the Australian lobster and said lightly, it should have been settled long ago. Father laughed heartily. Over the years, I've kept a record of every penny I gave to that Reed woman. If she treated you well and you two ended up married, fine. But now that you've broken up, everything that should be reclaimed must be reclaimed. Ethan, don't get involved in this. Leave it to me. I shook my head. Dad, I want to cut ties completely. Let's start by collecting what's owed. The next morning, I changed into a designer suit worth $700,000 and appeared at the entrance of a building with a luxury watch on my wrist. I said to the front desk, tell your boss Ethan is here. Over the years, I had kept a modest image, and this was the first time I'd come to her company. With our family support, her company had really done well, quite respectable and proper. But that's understandable. With several $100 million of our family's money, if we still couldn't start a decent company, that would be ridiculous. Soon, the receptionist replied, Mr. Johnson, our boss is in a meeting. Please have a seat and wait a moment. Wait? That's not my style. I took the elevator straight to the meeting room and barged in. Bang! I kicked the door open hard. Everyone in the conference room jumped. Luna frowned. Who told you to come in? Didn't I tell you to wait downstairs? I don't have the habit of waiting for people. I sneered. Luna, afraid the matter would escalate and harm her reputation, then had everyone in the conference room leave. Then she casually poured herself a glass of water and glared at me with disgust. What? Couldn't wait to come beg me to get back together so soon? I'm telling you, it's already too late. She probably thought I would still, like before, come running over all eager to beg her to reconcile. I was about to speak when a voice came from outside. Luna, who is it daring to come cause trouble at our company? The person who entered was dressed in designer clothes and was fairly handsome. I recognize him. He's Luna's white moonlight and also the spokesperson for our family brand. I've heard him mingled in the art scene. He was once an obscure 18th tier painter and later, with Luna's support, became a nationally known artist. No wonder Luna wanted to recommend him as our brand spokesperson back then. It turns out they had long since rekindled their old flame. When he saw me, his eyes flickered a little. Mr. Johnson, isn't this the famous Mr. Blake? What are you doing here? I raised an eyebrow and smiled. Blake swallowed and looked flustered, but I could still see a trace of resentment in his eyes. Luna stepped in front of him. Ethan, you're here today to talk about getting back together with me, right? Don't drag anything else into it. If you want to reconcile, you can, but you must buy that painting back for me. Otherwise, get out right now. Smack! I slapped Luna across the face. I'm the eldest young master of the Johnson family. Who gave you the nerve to speak to me like that? Ever since she got my family's backing, Luna has acted like upper-class royalty all day long, with an enormous ego. Who would dare slap her? From just a few centimeters away, I could feel the raging fury and intense hatred emanating from her. This broke Blake's heart. "Mr. Johnson, you're a man. How could you hit a woman?" "If I hit her, what's it got to do with you?" I sneered. "Or are you feeling sorry for her?" I just can't stand seeing you bully people with your power." Blake stammered for a long time before he managed to say that. Luna's face twisted viciously, but perhaps thinking I still had some use, she didn't fight back. She only hissed, "Ethan, you've gone too far. I've never seen anyone as unreasonable as you. I'll never forgive you in this lifetime. So what if you're the eldest son of the Johnson family?" "I don't care." I nodded and gave a thumbs up. "Not bad, some backbone. Since we're breaking up, the accounts that need settling should be settled." I pulled out the ledger I had prepared long ago from my pocket. "Over the years, you've taken $530 million from our family. Pay it back." Luna glanced at the accounts. Her face changed suddenly, and she tore the papers to shreds. "Ethan, do you think this is fun? Trying to use money to pressure me?" I sneered. "Not fun. So please return all the money to me now. From now on, we're even." Blake stepped forward. "Mr. Johnson, you voluntarily gave this money during the relationship. There's no reason to take it back, right? Besides, you and Luna had feelings for each other. Breaking up and immediately talking about money. Isn't that a bit heartless? Kind-hearted? When they killed me, did they ever think about decency? Now they want to use emotions to blackmail me. Not a chance. Was there ever a time for you to speak?" I sneered. Anxious, Luna immediately shielded Blake. "Don't drag anyone else into this." Blake put on a pitiful look. "Mr. Johnson, I only stood up to speak for justice. Nothing more. I know my status is low, and I can't compare to someone from your elite circle, but hitting a woman is simply wrong." Luna shouted angrily. "You're not wrong. He's just from a slightly better background. If everyone had the same background, he'd be at the very bottom of society. They really are a pair of scumbags. And now, they don't even bother hiding it? You're not wrong. I really was born better than you." I could almost see them about to explode with anger. They clearly meant to mock me, but instead it became a tool for me to humiliate them. "Fine. $520 million, right? I'll pay you back in 5 days." I held up 3 fingers. 3 days. If it's not paid back within 3 days, we'll see each other in court. I guarantee that once the time's up, your entire company will be sealed. The anger in Luna's eyes looked like she wanted to devour me. "Don't be too much. Just 3 days." I strode out of the company with my head held high. $520 million. Even if it didn't annihilate them, it would at least strip them bare. After I got home, I told my parents about it. They were both very pleased. Father even handed part of the group's affairs over to me, appointing me as the group's president. On my first day at work, I saw a promotional poster featuring Blake and immediately called someone over. "Remove this person's endorsement. It's disgusting. Find a new spokesperson in the entertainment industry." The news quickly reached Luna's ears. "Ethan, are you insane? If you have an issue with me, why are you removing Blake's endorsement? I'll have whoever I want as a spokesperson. What does that have to do with you?" I hung up the phone immediately. I could already imagine how furious Luna must be on the other end. The days without Luna were very fulfilling. I handled pretty much all the affairs across the group and even closed a contract worth over $100 million. For that, Father was especially pleased. He gently patted my head. "Ethan, you've really grown up. You're no longer that willful child you used to be. Dad, I'll help you take on more responsibilities from now on." On the agreed 3rd day, I waited for Luna to transfer $520 million into the account. But instead of money, I received a message. A large crowd was causing a disturbance downstairs at our group's building. They were all Blake's fans. Blake is now an emerging generation painter with a lot of popularity. Luna called me. "Ethan, since you're so heartless, don't blame me for being ruthless. Go take a look online." She also thoughtfully sent me a link, a video about Johnson Group maliciously canceling Blake's endorsement. In the video, Blake still looked pitiful, like a delicate white lotus. "Hello everyone, I'm Blake. I know that someone like me, from an ordinary background, doesn't have much power, but I still want to stand up and fight for myself. Why can the Johnson Group cancel my endorsement just like that? Why can the Johnson family's eldest son call me the lowest of society? Blake alone definitely couldn't stir up so much attention, but with Luna involved it was different. My relationship with Luna is public. Many people know about us, and her speaking out carries more weight. I've had enough of being with Ethan these past few years. He often doesn't come home, fools around with other women, comes back at midnight and expects me to get up and make him food, and even kisses other women in front of me. I've had enough. So 3 days ago, I told him I was breaking up with him. I want him to know that I, Luna, am not his plaything. I'm a real person too. Just like that, with Blake and Luna hyping it up, the story grew hotter and hotter. And that's why so many people gathered downstairs at the company building. All of them came to cause trouble for me. So what if you're rich? You're just a scumbag. Poor my Blake, such great drawing skills. Yet he's being suppressed. Johnson Group, right? From now on, we boycott all products of their company. I heard that the eldest son of the Johnson family has liked bullying people since he was young, has done all sorts of outrageous things, even forced a female classmate to have an abortion in middle school, done drugs, fought people, everything. The rumors online were overwhelming, and even the people inside the company began to look at me differently. Then Luna called again, her tone full of triumph. Ethan, did you really think that because the Johnson Group is behind you, I couldn't do anything to you? Now you know how powerful I am, right? Not only will I not pay you back, you'll have to give me another $200 million as compensation, or I'll make the entire Johnson Group go down with you. I chuckled softly. $520 million US. If you don't pay it back, I'll notify the court to seize your company tomorrow. After hanging up, I smiled happily. Isn't this delivering a favorable win to me? The fiercer the uproar and the higher the attention now, the more they'll feel the pain when the backlash comes. When my parents called to check on me, I told them not to worry. Everything is under my control. They were so brazen because they thought I didn't know about their relationship. Too bad. Not long after I was reborn, I had them investigated in secret. I stared at the photos on my phone. There were a few clear shots of them in swimsuits at the beach, and sneered to myself. You adulterous pair, you don't realize this trick yet. Can you handle it? The matter blew up bigger and bigger, shooting straight to #1 on trending searches, even pushing down a certain celebrity's newly released song. Almost the entire internet was full of people cursing me and the Johnson Group, yet I quietly held a cup of coffee, looking down at the rioters downstairs. Sigh, these people are just being used as pawns, and they don't even realize it. Mr. Johnson, the $520 million has been received. At that moment, my secretary walked over and said. I nodded lightly, set down my coffee, and sent the photos on my phone to my secretary's phone. Upload these photos online. Yes, the secretary was so excited when she saw the photo that she could hardly contain herself. She was probably admiring my strategic planning in her heart. At that moment, my phone rang. I thought it was Luna again, but it was an unknown number. Hello. I answered the call. Ethan, you're outrageous. $520 million. You said you'd take it, and you just took it. The voice on the phone surprised me a little. It turned out to be Blake. Given Luna's cautious nature, she would never have let Blake call me. Blake must have acted on his own. What an idiot. At a time like this, he doesn't avoid suspicion and even takes the initiative to call me. I quietly pressed the record button. That money was mine to begin with. Why can't I take it? Blake's voice was unusually angry, as if I had taken his money. You're the eldest young master of the Johnson family. That money means nothing to you. But Luna's business is just getting started, and you take this sum away. Don't you think you're going too far? My tone turned intriguingly. What does my relationship with Luna have to do with you? Or are you something to her? You stop talking nonsense. Anyway, Ethan, I'm warning you. If you don't do as Luna says, we'll make sure to ruin the Johnson Group. Blake panicked for a moment, then added, you must have seen the comments online by now, right? And there are crowds downstairs. If no one buys your Johnson Group's products, let's see what you do. Mindless. I made a sarcastic remark and hung up the phone. After the group posted the photos online, the whole internet exploded. I also held a press conference at the right time. I did have a romantic relationship with Luna, but she didn't dump me. I broke up with her because I discovered she was having an improper relationship with Blake, that third party. We have no relationship now. Secondly, the reason she and Blake smeared me and the Johnson group online is because during our relationship, she took $520 million from our family. I only wanted to take that money back. Immediately after, I played the recording of the call with Blake. In an instant, the situation turned upside down. Those who had been insulting me and the Johnson group immediately switched sides, and Blake's few remaining fans unfollowed and joined in the backlash. With the fake accounts I set up, Luna and the others had an even harder time. Johnson, the eldest son of the Johnson family, has it so bad. He actually got cheated on. Good thing I didn't insult them earlier, or I'd have been an accomplice. Those two scumbags still dare to twist the truth online. Just go die already. Those two. May they die miserable deaths. The matter blew up bigger and bigger. Luna was at least somewhat sensible. She immediately deleted all the videos, shut down every social account, and started playing dead. But the insults didn't stop. People still cursed her, and some even went to Luna's company to cause trouble. I heard someone even bought rotten eggs specifically to throw at her. Hearing all this made me ecstatic. Those two finally got a little taste of retribution. But this is only the beginning. If they think my revenge ends here, they're being far too naive. How could I ever let those who kill my entire family off? In this life, if I don't make them suffer until they're unrecognizable, my surname isn't Johnson. Mr. Johnson, a large group of people just arrived outside, aggressive. Doesn't look like they're here on good terms, the secretary reported as she came in. Tell them to wait for me in the conference room. I had just looked through the glass and already seen those dozen or so people. The corner of my mouth couldn't help curling up a little. If you help me again, as soon as I walked into the meeting room, I saw those dozen or so people. At the head of them was a middle-aged couple. They were Luna's parent from the countryside. Over the years, they made a fortune through channels connected to our Johnson group, amassing huge wealth worth billions of dollars. They were even more parasitic than their daughter Luna. I hadn't gone looking for them, yet they were the ones who came knocking first. Mr. Johnson, what do you mean? Denying any relationship with my daughter and taking back $520 million. The one speaking was that middle-aged woman, behaving like a shrew. No matter how splendidly she dressed, she couldn't hide her coarse nature. How could my daughter be with a shameless man like you? Hurry up and take those videos off the internet. The middle-aged woman sat in the chair, swearing at me. I smiled as my secretary refilled my cup of coffee, took a sip, slightly bitter, but with a sweet aftertaste. Bang! Seeing that I remained silent, the middle-aged woman slapped the table hard. Mr. Johnson, are you deaf? Do you really think having a pile of filthy money makes you great? You owe me an explanation for this. I raised an eyebrow slightly. Don't get so worked up. Your daughter is out there finding a third person. What can I do about that? The middle-aged woman hissed. That's because you don't have the ability. You can't even control your own woman. It's laughable. In our village, if a woman finds a third person, then the man should die. Oh, I chuckled lightly. So, if Uncle found a third person, would that be your problem too? Over the years, Luna's parents made a lot of money together with our family. Her father long ago couldn't stand the loneliness and kept a mistress. Everyone knew about it. Only that woman was the only one kept in the dark. The middle-aged man angrily said, "What nonsense are you talking about? I'm an upright man. How could I be supporting a mistress?" I snapped my fingers and had the secretary bring out the evidence. It was easy to find. After all, Luna's father didn't know how to avoid suspicion. Once he had some money, he couldn't help showing off, just like his daughter. The middle-aged woman widened her eyes when she saw the photos, but I actually admired her for managing to hold back and not erupt. "You Johnson, how dare you Photoshop? We're here today about Luna. Don't try to drag something else into this." I can see the murderous intent in her eyes, while the middle-aged man trembled in fear. "Fine, if this is about Luna, then kneel down and apologize to me. Maybe I'll spare you." My expression gradually grew cold. I was really disappointed not to see a dog-eat-dog scene. What did you say? Make us kneel and apologize to you? You really are lawless. I'm Luna's mother. Do you believe me if I say Luna will never speak to you again? The middle-aged woman, upon hearing my words, sneered at me viciously as if she'd swallowed something foul. If I still loved Luna, they'd surely have me under their thumb. But now I feel only deep loathing for her. As long as I don't love, nobody can control me. I slowly stood up from the chair and chuckled softly. I've already broken up with her. We have nothing to do with each other. I've settled things with her. I haven't settled things with you yet. You, what do you mean by settle things? You're the younger generation. I'm the elder. Don't you know the rules? I really don't know how your parents raised you. You have no respect for your elders, the middle-aged woman scolded angrily. That's right. In our village, even a dog knows to respect its elders. Is this the conduct of your rich families? Hurry up and apologize to us. The people behind her echoed her, showering me with insults. The secretary frowned, but did not dare to speak. The middle-aged woman slammed the table again. Are your parents brainless? If your parents were in our village and raised a man like you, they'd have been beaten up long ago. Tell your parents to come out and slap themselves a few times and return Luna's money. I stepped in front of the middle-aged woman and with a sharp smack slapped her across the face, my tone icy. Don't shout around me. A country bumpkin, and you dare talk about my parents? You! The middle-aged woman lunged at me to strike, but seeing the security guard behind me staring like hawks, she trembled with fury. I remember you reached this position today, thanks to the Johnson Group channels, right? I looked at the middle-aged woman with a teasing gaze. From today on, the Johnson Group channels are closed to you, and we will file a lawsuit. You used the Johnson Group channels back then and didn't pay a single penny in channel fees. I'll have my people tally up the bill and deliver it to you. Also, I'm giving you 3 days. If you don't pay within 3 days, I'll have your company declared bankrupt. Luna's parents sold fruit in the countryside. At first they only had 3 or 4 acres, but later, with the support of the Johnson Group, they expanded to cover the whole village. Their products were sold nationwide entirely through people sent by the Johnson Group, using our group's channels. Because of that, I used to argue with Mom and Dad. Looking back now, I wasn't a good person either. I actually fought with the ones I loved most over that woman. Amid a chorus of curses, I had them escorted out of the group. When I later went over the accounts, I was startled. Over the years, we had actually spent hundreds of millions of dollars on them. No wonder Luna could so readily give me back $520 million. Turns out she relied on her family. I chuckled, then had someone deliver the bill to them. They were obstinate. The moment the bill was handed over, they tore it to pieces in front of my men and declared, "We're not paying. What are you going to do about it?" Of course, I couldn't do anything to them. After all, I'm a law-abiding person. Matters like this should be handled by professionals. Soon, the court summonses were delivered into their hands. Mr. Johnson, they beat up the lawyers. I laughed and sent a second, third, and fourth wave of lawyers over, but they were all beaten. One of the lawyers who was beaten the worst was even hospitalized and diagnosed with a mild concussion, already considered a minor injury. I gave that lawyer a large sum of money as compensation, then had my people gather evidence that Luna's parents had maliciously injured someone, and filed a lawsuit together with the financial case. The next day, the middle-aged couple were all arrested. Now, Luna panicked. She probably hadn't expected that after a breakup I could be so ruthless, directly sending her parents to prison. She immediately ran to the Johnson Group to find me. The Johnson Group she used to swagger in, and Ada could now be stopped at the gate by security. Tell Ethan to come down here. Several fists landed on her. This was, of course, my doing. After rebirth, I wouldn't show Luna the slightest mercy, even though she's a woman. Do you really think the gates of the Johnson Group are open to just anyone? Blake stood to the side. Miserable. Do you know? Mr. Johnson used to be Luna's boyfriend. Believe it or not, I'll have you all get out right now. Oh, aren't you that pair of lovers? What are you here for? I happen to come downstairs, ready to go out to discuss a project. I have to say, without Luna around, everything goes so smoothly. Ethan, how can you be so vicious? I only broke up with you, didn't I? Do you have to ruin my entire family? Luna, who is usually so superior in front of me, rarely loses her temper like this. Seeing her like this, I felt very pleased inside. I shrugged. I only wanted them to pay back the money. Who knew they'd resort to violence? You can't blame me for that. No matter what, I demand you withdraw the lawsuit immediately, or I will never forgive you in my life. Luna seethed with rage. I've heard that phrase so many times my ears are about to grow calluses. How on earth did I get so infatuated back then? Why did I fall for her? Maybe it was because of the way she ran her business then, clumsy and stumbling, yet refusing to give up. I met her at a banquet. At that time, I was the dazzling eldest son of the Johnson family, and she was just a recent college graduate who had sneaked into the event seeking financial backing, but no one paid her any attention. I was deeply attracted by her tenacious fighting spirit and positive attitude. Now that I think about it, what was that feeling? It was all bullshit. If I'd known she would end up getting my whole family killed, I should have just told security to throw her out back then. I walked up to Luna and said, "If you want me to withdraw the lawsuit, fine, kneel." "What? You want me to kneel to you?" Luna widened her eyes. "I've never suffered such humiliation." "Luna, are you out of your mind? Didn't you endure enough humiliation when you just graduated from college? Want me to help you remember?" I sneered repeatedly. Luna's look was murderous. She hesitated for a long time, staring at me and asking, "If I kneel, you'll let my parents go?" I chuckled softly. Luna, who was once so high and mighty, finally fell to her knees before me, like a dog that had died back then. "Now you can spare my parents, right?" I shrugged and pointed at Blake. "I don't like him. Give him 3 slaps. You don't keep your word." Luna shouted. "That's right. I mean what I say." I stared fixedly at Luna, eager to know what she would choose. "Luna, you wouldn't really hit me, would you?" Blake took a few steps back. Luna stood up. "Blake, it's all Ethan's fault. If he doesn't go easy on my parents, they'll end up in prison." Blake said, "All right, I'm willing to give everything for you." Seeing them looking at each other so tenderly made me nauseous. "Hurry up, or I'm leaving." Slap, slap, slap. 3 loud slaps landed directly on Blake's face. Luna really struck hard. Half of Blake's face instantly turned red. Luna glared at me viciously. "Ethan, are you satisfied now? Someone as cold-blooded as you ought to go to hell." Blake covered his face, his eyes full of resentment. I snorted, "It's not like I beat you, so why hate me? If anyone deserves your hatred, it should be your old lover." I chuckled softly. "Fine, I withdraw the charge. Remember the humiliation you put me through today? I will repay it 100-fold. Luna said coldly, then left with Blake. The secretary stepped forward. "Mr. Johnson, are you really going to withdraw the charges?" "Of course we're withdrawing them. If we don't, how could they keep causing trouble? Given Luna's parents' temperaments, they would never let it go quietly. They don't know much about the law and might even do something more outrageous." Sure enough, on the 3rd day after I withdrew the accusation, Luna's parents started making trouble again. They hired people to cause a scene in the village, insisting no one from my side be allowed to take over the agricultural products company. This time they were a bit smarter. They didn't resort to violence. They just surrounded my people in a tight circle. What a joke. We worked so hard to build this company. Why should it be handed over to the Johnson family? The middle-aged woman sneered, hands on her hips, cursing. "Exactly. This is our village's company, not for the Johnson family to decide." At this moment, someone asked, "Sister-in-law, what if the Johnson family comes at us hard? After all, they're powerful and not easy to provoke." The middle-aged woman sneered. "What to be afraid of? They're nothing. Who are you calling nothing?" I overheard their conversation from outside and couldn't help but laugh. They're really just the same as Luna. Their faces changed the moment they saw me, but they quickly softened again. "Isn't this the man from the Johnson family? Surprised to see us come out unscathed?" The middle-aged woman sneered at me. She probably doesn't know that she was able to come out because her daughter knelt in front of me and slapped her white moon 3 times to make it happen. But then again, With Luna's prideful personality, she certainly wouldn't tell her that. I chuckled softly. It is indeed rather unexpected. You came today to apologize to us, right? The middle-aged woman said, hands on her hips. A dozen or so people in the room all looked at me with hostile eyes. I nodded. Auntie, you're right. I did come to apologize. I was immature before. I hope you won't hold it against me. The secretary looked at me with a face full of astonishment. When the middle-aged woman heard me say that, she burst into loud laughter and said to the people around her, "What did I tell you? A dog can't stop eating shit." I thought he had some backbone, but it turns out he's just my daughter's simp. She was surely assuming that I was apologizing for Luna. Yes, I'm a simp, I said with a laugh, not caring at all about what others thought. An apology is done, but what about making amends? The middle-aged woman sneered. Simple. Once your fruit ripens, you can still use Johnson Group's channels for free, but that would earn money too slowly. Better yet, you hand over all the fruit from the entire region, and Johnson Group will help you sell it. The middle-aged woman grinned from ear to ear. Who would stand in the way of money? The harvest season for the fruit was almost here. If they could gather all the fruit, they'd surely make a fortune. After we left the village, the secretary asked, "Mr. Johnson, what do you mean by this?" I didn't explain, only instructed, tomorrow bring in all the fruit from within Huaching. When they start buying, sell it at 30% above the purchase price. To make trouble for them is, quite simply, a piece of cake. That evening, I attended a banquet filled with elites from all walks of life. Actually, doing business and being a decent person follow the same principle. You need to build good relationships with people so your future ventures can go smoothly. I didn't act superior because of my ties to the Johnson Group. Instead, I calmly interacted with those around me. They were trying to win my favor, and I was laying groundwork for the future. Unfortunately, some people never seem to understand that. At the banquet, Luna in a long gown and Blake in a custom Armani suit also arrived. They stood out among the guests, and everyone thought they were a perfect match of talent and beauty. I have to admit, they really are a perfect match. Someone stepped forward to ingratiate themselves with Luna, but when Luna saw the company's name and didn't recognize it, her expression immediately darkened. She threw the business card on the ground in front of them, showing them no respect. The person's face fell, but because Luna is a boss worth hundreds of millions of dollars, he didn't dare to say anything more. Luna, don't you think these people have no sense of self-awareness? They actually dared to show their faces in front of us. Blake's disdain showed plainly on his face. Luna sneered disdainfully. They're just stupid. Do they really think they can get lucky at a banquet? Miss Reed, that's a bit harsh of you. One of the junior bosses below couldn't swallow his indignation and fired back. Luna sneered. If I call you stupid, you should have the self-awareness to accept it. If it's not your circle, don't force your way in. We're high society, not like you sewer rats. As she spoke, she straightened her clothes, lifted her chin proudly, and with Blake, like a pair of peacocks, looked down on everyone present. I couldn't help laughing while they were putting on a show. My laughter echoed throughout the whole hall. Ethan, it's you again. Luna glared at me viciously. Blake said coldly, this guy, how does he manage to show up everywhere? Does he have any right to be at this banquet? Since when do banquets need a bootlicker? Everyone there stared at Blake as if he were an idiot. This guy must be out of his mind. I laughed. I'm terribly sorry. This banquet is being hosted by our Johnson family. Tell me, does this simp of mine even qualify to attend? Blake was suddenly at a loss for words. So what if it's hosted by our Johnson family? Can I say a few words? Luna shielded Blake behind her, looking at me as if I had killed her entire family. Of course you can speak. Our Johnson family isn't that petty. I was just asking, Miss Reed. What level of person are you? Luna lifted her chin and put on that haughty look again. Of course I'm upper class. Upper class. I covered my mouth and chuckled. Miss Reed, you must have forgotten. You also came up from the bottom, didn't you? Didn't you used to sneak into parties to seek others' cooperation? But I never saw anyone throw a business card on the ground in front of you, did I? Nonsense. Luna snapped. Her pride wouldn't let her admit her past. These years of carefree living had made her completely see herself as a success. Blake chimed in beside him. Mr. Johnson, I know you hold a grudge because Luna left you, but there's no need to be so vicious, is there? You're the eldest young master of the Johnson family. How can you be so petty? You might not know this, but Luna back then was far humbler than these little bosses now. I stepped in front of them and, word by word, described how Luna had been in the past. If I hadn't helped her back then, she might still be struggling at the bottom. I don't look down on people at the bottom. On the contrary, the Johnson Group has never forgotten its roots and has always given back to users through its pricing. But what about Luna's company? After getting the funds, she immediately built a high-end brand, used public opinion and celebrity endorsements, and inflated the prices by 1,000%. Although over the years Reed Group has sailed smoothly under the protection of Johnson Group, without Johnson Group, it wouldn't be long before Reed Group's true colors were exposed. Ethan, shut up. I never expected you to be this kind of person, breaking up with me and then going out of your way to target me. Seeing that I had said too much, Luna practically shouted. With so many people present, she still cared about saving face. I couldn't be bothered to say more. Luna's dirty past could be told forever. Luna looked down at me. Ethan, in this lifetime, you can forget being with me. Even if you kneel and beg me, it won't work. Me beg you? Not necessarily. But it won't be long before you come begging me. That's true. I took a sip of red wine and glanced around. I hereby announce something. Everyone knows how Reed Group rose to power, right? It was thanks to our Johnson Group. Now, our Johnson Group has no relation whatsoever with Reed Group. From now on, anyone who collaborates with Reed Group does so at their own risk. The expressions of those present all changed, and their looks toward Luna grew noticeably more contemptuous. They were polite to Luna before, but wasn't that only out of respect for the Johnson Group? Although the incident had been all over the internet recently, they hadn't dared to say much because of the Johnson Group's power. After all, who knew whether this wasn't just a minor spat between the couple? You can't blame them either. I used to be notorious for being hopelessly lovey-dovey. Luna looked very ugly, but her pride wouldn't let her back down. Isn't it just severing ties? Without the Johnson Group, I can still do perfectly well. Don't think I only got ahead because of your Johnson Group. I'm really envious of her. She can lie with her eyes wide open. No one here is a fool. Without the Johnson Group, what is she even? Fine. From now on, anyone from Reed Group is banned from attending any Johnson family events. Miss Reed, please take your white moonlight and get out. Luna trembled with anger all over, and in the end, she still left the banquet. I had planned to put on a show at that banquet and maybe make some connections with people who had influence, but after I stirred things up like that, she was immediately driven out, humiliated. After the banquet ended, I returned home and my father pulled me over to the dining table. Ethan, there's something I'd like to discuss with you. What is it? Actually, when you were little, the family arranged a marriage for you, but later you grew up and fell for the girl from the Reed family. So we never brought it up again, Father said. Now that you've broken up with her, I think you should meet the other party. Ah, a marriage? I've never heard of it. I wore a mournful face. Dad, you really want to push me in a marriage that badly? Just meet once. It's not like it has to work out. Father gave a wry smile. I've heard a lot about what's been going on at the company lately. You've really grown up. And so, arranged by the family, I met that woman at a cafe. I wore slip-on canvas shoes, leather pants, and threw on a red hoodie, looking like some wannabe tough guy from the streets. After what happened with Luna, I really couldn't be bothered with women and had no desire to get married. Before leaving, I even checked myself in the mirror. As long as she's a normal person, she probably won't be interested in me. But as it turned out, humans can't predict everything, and the woman sitting across from me was not a normal person. She dressed casually, exuded a homely gentleness, and had a delicate face, so much more attractive than Luna, like a movie heroine, exceptionally graceful. The moment I saw her, my heart couldn't help but flutter. How rash! I quickly pinched my own thigh. I'm Ethan. What kind of woman haven't I seen? What if she's the same type as Luna? She extended her hand. Hello, my name is Sophia Taylor. Ethan. I crossed my legs, looking nonchalant. Mr. Johnson, you are very different from the rumors. Sophia smiled, showing dimples on both cheeks. What? Miss Taylor is someone who judges by appearances. I scoffed and casually pulled a cigarette from my pocket. If you're going to act like a spirited youngster, you might as well look the part. Mr. Johnson, you can't smoke here. I'm going to smoke. What are you going to do about it? I lit a cigarette, but didn't take a single puff. Why? Because I don't smoke at all. From childhood until now, I've never picked up any bad habits. Sophia saw my embarrassment. Mr. Johnson, if you can't smoke, then don't smoke. Mind your own business. I forced myself to take a drag and nearly coughed my lungs out. What on earth is this stuff? Whoever wants to smoke can smoke. Boo-hoo. I'll tell you this. If you want to marry me, that's fine. I heard your Taylor Group is a major conglomerate in hooching, so first give me 30% of the shares, then hand all the money over to me, and finally stay at home as a housewife. If you can't do that, then it's off the table. I thought to myself, with conditions like this, nobody would agree, right? Unless the person across from me was an idiot. It turned out I was wrong again. She really was a fool. Fine, as long as Mr. Johnson is happy. But I can't produce 30% of the shares. I only have 15% in the group. No matter how many women I'd met, I'd never seen someone so stupid. I placed my hand on Sophia's forehead. You don't have a fever. Why are you talking nonsense? I'm asking for your family's shares, and you're willing to give them up. Is there something wrong with you? Sophia smiled. Mr. Johnson, I'm not ill. Then why did you agree to such terms? Other than being ill, I really couldn't think of any other reason. I leaned in a little. You wouldn't be pregnant by someone else and coming to me to take over, would you? Looking at Sophia's speechless expression, I was overjoyed. This should finally scare her away. Mr. Johnson, I really am not ill. If you don't believe me, we can go to the hospital and get checked right now. Never mind. I waved my hand. Rushing to the hospital on our first meeting was so improper. But I still thought there was something wrong with her. So I continued, you should know about that recent uproar online, right? I know, Sophia said, but I don't mind. She doesn't mind any of that. Hiss. This is actually a bit difficult. To be honest, why do you agree to everything? I sat back up and studied Sophia carefully. Sophia smiled. When you like someone, it seems you don't really need a reason. Now, it was my turn to be speechless. Could this be love at first sight? Miss, you look like a movie heroine, and your family background is excellent. So why are you fixated on me? Is it because of your family? If you don't marry me, they won't let you inherit the family business and will give it to your brothers. This was the only reason I could think of. Sophia and I were actually set up by our elders. Our family backgrounds are similar. If it worked out, it would have been a strong alliance in the business world. Sophia shook her head. I'm an only child. I have no siblings. It's not because of my family. I like Mr. Johnson myself. Saying she liked me the first time we met. That's so fake. And that line sounds no different from a gold digger. I hurriedly shook my head. No, I don't like you. Goodbye. Saying that, I quickly ran out. This woman was so unnervingly calm. She wasn't after small gains. She must have bigger schemes. After returning home, I told my father a lot of bad things about Sophia, saying she was ugly, had delusions of grandeur, and shamelessly wanted me to give her shares of the Taylor Group. My father was stunned. I've heard the young Miss Taylor is a very gentle person. Is she really as unbearable as you say? I continued to embellish. Anyway, I have no interest in women right now. Running a business is much more interesting, and women only affect my work efficiency. But to my surprise, Sophia actually showed up at the company the next day. What are you doing here? I cried out in shock. Sophia smiled and pointed to the name badge on her chest, which read Executive Assistant. Uncle Johnson sent me to be your subordinate, Mr. Johnson. You better take good care of me. What on earth is going on? Yesterday, I had spoken so ill of Sophia, and my father agreed. How come today she's been assigned to work by my side? Even more absurd, Sophia, the eldest daughter of the Taylor family, didn't protest at all and willingly became my subordinate. I hurriedly called my father. Ethan, I think the young lady from the Taylor family is quite nice, not like what you said. You should spend more time with her. I had no choice but to take Sophia on as a subordinate. At 20-something, still sticking by my side to learn, she looked like an incapable rich girl, but I soon realized I was wrong. Sophia knew a lot about business. Even if I wasn't at the corporation, she could keep things running smoothly. That made me think even more highly of her. Mr. Johnson, it's bad. Just then, the secretary hurried over in a panic. The plot of land we were partnering on in Hooching was snatched up by the Reed Group. Both the Johnson Group and the Reed Group are in real estate. Come to think of it, it was me begging my father to take Luna into this business. I didn't expect that now she would actually dare to snatch our project. I hurried to the office to verify the situation and found that Reed Group had purchased that plot at 20% above market price. This was clearly an unprofitable deal. It was a declaration of war against me. I sneered. Luna, what you're relying on now should be your parents' fruit business back in the countryside. Going up against Johnson Group, you really have no sense of your own limits. If you had any brains, you'd withdraw from this line at once. Otherwise, you'll be swallowed by Johnson Group sooner or later. And now, not only do you not back down, you even dare to challenge us. Wait until your funding chain breaks. Let's see what you do then. Sophia came over. Mr. Johnson, my family has some influence in Hooching. Shall I step in and help? I twirled my phone lightly. No need. The little Reed Group won't be able to hop around for long. During this time, I'd seen Luna and Blake a few times at business events. They had gone back to their lofty attitudes, mocking me with cold sarcasm, acting as if snatching a project from the Johnson Group made them extraordinary. Because of that move, the Reed Group has been getting a lot of attention lately. After all, not just anyone dares to steal business from the Johnson Group. But they don't know. The more they prance now, the more miserably they'll die later. I didn't take them seriously at all. I was busy handling the group's affairs. Occasionally, I heard from the secretary that all the fruit within Huacheng had already been bought up, and Luna's parents had also started making contact, asking if I wanted to sell the fruit to them. I laughed and said, sell it at a 30% markup, as originally planned. They're so greedy. They'll definitely want to hoard all the fruit for themselves. As I expected, they mortgaged the entire company and used the money to frantically buy up the fruit I had. By evening, their calls came in. Ethan, all the fruit in Flower City is in our hands now. Quickly get your Johnson Group channels to help us sell it. Sell? What do you mean, sell it? I ate my steak and said with a smile. Who are you? Do I know you? I really want to see their faces in person. They'd surely be as ugly as can be. Not only will I have Johnson Group sales channels completely shut off to them, I've also ordered every company in Huacheng not to take this batch of fruit, driving them completely into a dead end. Ethan, whose call was that? You sound so happy, my mother asked. I answered with a smile. 2 old dogs. 2 old dogs? How can this still be so joyful? The next day, I set off for Hooching. I was actually in a pretty good mood, but Sophia, that clingy leech, insisted on following me. In her words, Uncle Johnson was worried something might happen to you in Hoo City, so he asked me to accompany you. I'm a man of 7 feet and the president of the Johnson Group. Who would dare lay a hand on me? It must be Father wanting me to have more contact with Sophia. She is indeed pretty, but I have no interest in women right now. I even feel disgusted. But since it was Father who spoke, I couldn't really argue. But on the flight to Shanghai, the skies suddenly flashed with lightning and thunder, and an enormous storm struck without warning, making the whole fuselage tremble. Voices of the flight attendants kept coming over the plane. Passengers, please fasten your seatbelts and do not move around. Rumble, rumble. Lightning struck outside one after another, and I felt a wave of panic, involuntarily recalling the plane crash incidents I'd seen before, cold sweat forming on my forehead. Don't be afraid. I'm here with you. Suddenly, a gentle hand grasped mine, the warmth from its palm gradually calming me down. I forced a calm tone. Then die with me. No way. We'll definitely arrive in Hooching safely. I couldn't detect the slightest panic on Sophia's face. She remained as gentle and composed as ever, as if we weren't in any danger at all. Luckily, it was only a false alarm in the end, and the plane successfully arrived in Shanghai. As soon as I got off the plane, my legs went weak. I was genuinely scared. If something had really happened, my life, which had just been reborn not long ago, would have been over. Sophia, on the other hand, as a woman, could remain so calm. Sophia steadied me. Are you okay? Me, what could be wrong with me? Don't joke. I still put on a stubborn front. Sophia didn't say much either. When we left the airport, someone came to pick us up. The driver was very familiar with Sophia. The two chatted happily, with no sense of hierarchy between them. They were completely different kinds of people from Luna. Since Luna gained some power, she looked down on this one and dismissed that one. But Sophia, who was born into a wealthy family, was exceptionally kind in her manners. I couldn't help asking, weren't you afraid on the plane just now? Afraid, Sophia answered with a smile. Then why did you seem so calm and unconcerned? I was puzzled. I really couldn't see any trace of fear on her face. Sophia said, because you're here. If the worst happens and we really die on the plane, even in the afterlife we'll have company, at least we won't be alone. At that moment, I noticed Sophia's hands. They had been trembling slightly the whole time. Her words were simple, but they warmed my heart. It was pouring rain with lightning and thunder today. It was not a good time to discuss business. So Sophia suggested we go to her place to rest for the night and talk business tomorrow. Of course I refused. I mean, why on earth would I go home with her when I didn't even know her properly? But on this matter, Sophia gave me no chance to object. I felt like a grown man who had been sold instead. Sophia had the driver take the car to the gate of an estate. Standing at the entrance was a middle-aged couple. The middle-aged woman bore some resemblance to Sophia. We hadn't even got out of the car when they came over and opened the door for me. This must be Ethan, right? Truly a handsome man. Don't scare the child, Ethan. Come inside quickly. And so, surrounded by that middle-aged couple, I went into the house. I stared at Sophia with some annoyance, but she acted as if it had nothing to do with her, which made me fume. But in front of Mr. and Mrs. Taylor, I couldn't really lose my temper. I have to say, this whole family seemed cut from the same mold, all exceptionally warm and enthusiastic. Mr. Taylor kept talking about his relationship with my father. They were comrades, and my father had even saved his life before. They used to live in Huaching as well, but later moved the whole family to Huching because of business, and they used to live next door to us. He said that when I was little, I was timid and liked to follow Sophia around the most, calling her sister, and I would often say, "Sister, when I grow up, will you marry me?" I listened with my face full of shock, staring at Sophia. In my memory, she didn't exist at all. After the meal, I still decided not to stay overnight at the Taylor house. When I left, I asked, "Do you still remember me from when we were kids?" "Of course I remember. When we were kids, you always wanted to marry me. You said it yourself. That was when we were kids." Sophia didn't say anything after that, and the atmosphere grew a little awkward. I got in the car and left, heading to the hotel, without hearing Sophia softly say behind me, "When we were kids, marrying me was your dream. Now that we're grown, marrying you is mine." The next day, the sun was bright. I went with Sophia to a corporation to talk about a partnership, and to my surprise, I ran into Luna and Blake there. When they saw Sophia following behind me, their eyes were full of astonishment. Luna came over and taunted in a cold tone, "Ethan, you really change your mind quickly. After so little time, you've already found a new lover?" "Miss Reed, please watch your words," Sophia said softly. Luna pointed at Sophia's chest. "Do you know who I am? I'm Ethan's ex-girlfriend." "What the hell are you?" Sophia said calmly. "I am Mr. Johnson's executive assistant." Luna sneered at me. "Changing taste now? Into this mature, domineering type? Ethan, how pathetic you are." Her words hadn't finished when a sharp slap rang through the entire hall. I stared at Sophia. It was her who had struck. Usually mild-mannered and elegant, Sophia's eyes were now full of ice, as if she wanted to devour someone. "I told you. Watch your language." Blake stood stunned for a long moment, then lunged forward like a madman, trying to lay hands on Sophia. "You're just a little assistant, and you dare hit my woman. I called Ethan a lowlife, so what?" Smack! Another slap, landing on Blake's face. Seeing this, I thought it was insanely cool. This woman was just too fierce, utterly unhesitating once she started fighting. Say one more bad word about Mr. Johnson, and I'll make sure you can't stay in hooching. When Sophia said this, her tone was full of menace, and she really had the power to back it up. The Taylor family was, after all, a leading enterprise in hooching. I patted Sophia on the shoulder and said with a smile, "You two lovebirds see that? Aren't you going to scram?" "You, Ethan, you're being so mean." Luna trembled with anger. "You used to be my little bootlicker. If it weren't for the Johnson Group backing you, you'd be useless." I smiled even more broadly. "Too bad for you. I just have a better background." "How's that?" Luna took a deep breath. "You came here for the Shanghai real estate project collaboration, didn't you? I advise you to leave. This project is ours now." "That's not necessarily so." At that moment, a middle-aged man came out from inside. He was the project partner from hooching. He was polite to me, yet he never once mentioned the cooperation. Luna and Blake were laughing so hard they could barely close their mouths. Of course, they knew the other side wouldn't partner with the Johnson Group, because working with the Reed Group offered a larger profit margin. I sat on the sofa. "Mr. Who, let's not beat around the bush. Let's talk straight about this real estate cooperation project." Mr. Who's smile vanished instantly. "Mr. Johnson, unfortunately, our group has already reached a cooperation with the Reed Group, so we'll have to work with the Johnson Group another time. Ethan, stop stirring things up here. The project is already in my hands. If you want it, come beg me." "Luna is native," Blake also said with a sullen face. "Johnson, if you're willing to kneel down and slap yourself a few times, maybe I'll let Luna, out of old ties, give this project to you." Luna said disdainfully, "I have no real ties with him. He's just a simp. In my heart, the one I've liked from the start has always been you. In my heart, you're the most important as well." Watching them fawn over each other in front of me, I could only think they were a pair of buffoonish clowns, oblivious even as disaster loomed. I stared at Mr. Who. "Mr. Who, are you really not going to cooperate with our Johnson Group?" Mr. Who spoke politely, but his attitude was extremely firm. He refused to give an inch. "All right," I said with a laugh. "Mr. Who, then I wish you a smooth cooperation with the Reed Group. But I should warn you, if you want to work with the Johnson Group again in the future, it won't be at this price." Mr. Who smiled and said, "Mr. Johnson, why make things so tense? We're all in the business world." I ignored him entirely and turned to Luna. "Luna, I'll remind you once more. Check your cash flow and whether you have enough money to discuss this cooperation." No sooner had I finished speaking than Luna's phone rang. She glanced at me with arrogance, then answered the call, her expression changing instantly. "Ethan, you despicable man. How dare you set a trap for me?" Everyone present went pale. Blake hurriedly asked, "Luna, what's going on?" Luna recited word for word what was on the phone, and everyone's faces went ashen. Such a loss amounted to hundreds of millions of dollars, and that money had been borrowed at usurious rates. With interest compounding, it was simply beyond what they could bear. If Luna didn't want them to go to prison or be chased for repayment, she would have to divert company funds to plug the hole. That would make them even less qualified to come to hooching to negotiate real estate projects. A single parcel of land could be worth over $1 billion. Besides, Luna's company had many other shareholders. If she acted this way, she would be completely kicked out of the Reed Group. I smiled. They were greedy and tried to swallow an elephant. What does that have to do with me? Since Mr. Who doesn't want to discuss business with me, will be leaving now. Mr. Who no longer had his previous composure. He hurriedly said, "Mr. Johnson, I was wrong. Let's re-sign the contract right now." And just like that, I successfully secured the cooperation project for this plot of land in Shanghai. After leaving Shanghai and returning to Flower City, Sophia admired me a lot. "I was going to use my family's connections to help you, but I didn't expect you had already planned everything." I wasn't modest either. Of course I had. "Thank you for everything you've done during this time." "What are you thanking me for?" Sophia paused for a moment. I didn't say anything more. Not long after, Uncle Taylor and Aunt Taylor came over from hooching, and we had a meal together. At the table, They talked about the marriage between Sophia and me. No one had any objections, and finally their eyes turned to me. Seeing all those expectant faces, I answered, "Okay." I've already gotten used to Sophia being by my side. With her here, I always feel at ease. "Ethan, are you really willing to marry me?" Sophia was as happy as if she'd won the lottery. It was the first time I'd seen her so excited. I nodded gently, and so we set the wedding date for the second day of next month. But during that time, I also heard news about the Reed Group. Luna was kicked out of the Reed Group, and in the end, she still had to come up with more than $100 million to repay the loan sharks. They also came to cause trouble at the Johnson Group, but when they had money, they were never a match for the Johnsons, let alone now that they're fallen. Once, I saw Luna crying and begging Blake not to leave her. "Luna, don't be so childish. I already have new feelings. Let go." After saying that, Blake got into a Bentley and drove away. I was a little surprised. That pretty boy found another woman so quickly. One moment Luna had just gone bankrupt, and the next he was breaking up with her. "This is all your fault." Luna screamed at me. I smiled. "I only took back what never belonged to you in the first place." As for Blake, if he really loved you, would he leave you at your most difficult moment? To put it plainly, he never loved you. He just loved your money more. I don't know how much that hit Luna, but in any case, the proud woman I knew instantly became quiet and withdrawn, her eyes filled with a lifeless stillness. On the day Sophia and I got married, everyone of note in the Flower City showed up. It was also on that day that I heard Luna had dragged Blake and jumped off a building together. But what did any of that have to do with me?